Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. So, today we're going to talk about scams.
Mm.
It's a huge, huge problem, and it's only getting worse. So, we wanted to kind of bring this to everybody's attention. So, for today, we're going to kind of talk through the top five scams that are currently going on. And I mean, there's tons more, but we're going to talk about these five and kind of give you some ideas of what to look for and how you can help yourself. Susan,
Definitely.
how are
Yeah.
you feeling about scams?
Oh, well, as you know, one of the reasons why we bring this up is because I got scammed recently. I'm laughing about it now, but I certainly wasn't when it happened. And I think this was it talking to you. We suddenly thought, you know what, we need to do a podcast about this because I think the initial feeling when it happens to you is really one of like, oh my gosh, how could I let that happen to me? I'm smarter than that, aren't I? And it's the whole kind of shame, guilt that you feel. So, to anybody listening that this has happened to, please try not to let that eat you up. And one of the things that we want to bring about today is how we can react and be more proactive with these scams so that we can better protect ourselves. And if it does happen again, yeah, it can happen. It's just having the tools to either deal with it in the moment or the aftermath of it so that you don't suffer too much from it.
Yeah, and way to go, Susan, for bringing this to the open about the emotional part of it and what's happening. Because I did a little bit of investigating, and found out that Canadians lost over $704 million to fraud in 2025 alone.
I know it's scary. When you look
Is
at the numbers, oh my gosh.
And you know what? Only 5 to 10% of scams are being reported. So that number is exponentially higher. It's crazy. And a lot of that is probably there's I guess a certain amount that are pretty small, but like small amounts. So they don't want to
Yeah.
do that. But that shame that you were talking about.
It really is. I think because as a society, we would let, there is, I don't know how to explain, but there is just this shame, like, oh my gosh, because the thing is, they catch you, and this is what we're going to talk about, right? They catch you on an emotional level.
They
That's
do.
where they go. And the thing is now, the scammers that we have are way more, I don't want to use the word sophisticated, but they are, right?
Are.
They
Yeah.
are so pleasant. They are so kind of they're super good manipulators. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, that's what they are. They manipulate you into this sense of this something's great going to happen, or this is, the best thing since sliced bread. They really play into those emotions, and then when the reality hits home, my God, is that it's like being on a roller coaster, right? You go like wee to the top, you're like super excited, then you just come crashing down. And that's what they play into, and that I think is how probably a lot of people feel afterwards, which is why we wanted to bring this up, right? If it can just, I don't know, if somebody ever it happens to them in the future and they've watched this and like, oh, hang on a second, you know, let me know.
That old saying, if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
It's so
Yeah. Yeah, we really got
behind
to think
but at
that.
the
Although not
moment,
all scams are go that way.
right?
Yeah. I mean,
So
they connect with your emotions and give you this sense of hope and all of that stuff, and then they screw you
oh,
over, really, is
yeah,
what.
they certainly do.
Okay, so let's let's talk. So I did some research and pulled the top five scams from the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. So these are the top five trends that are happening right now in Canada. And as I said, like I'm sure there's a ton of them, but this is what I
Oh yeah.
found are the top ones. So investment fraud and is huge. It's huge. So because these are the last numbers, 351 million lost in 2025. So these crypto frauds. They're fake trading businesses, all that sort of stuff. So you really got to be careful about where you're investing.
Mhm.
Um,
And who you trust, right? Because we were watching just the other night on YouTube this whole thing of scams, and it was a couple, and it was a friend of them or theirs, I don't know, that was introduced them to the scammers, right? So was the friend aware or not? That wasn't very clear in the video. But again, it was one of these financial things, and they were promised certain returns, which happened for the first few months and then nothing, right? And again, a couple, as you said, close to retirement, thought that it would just supplement their retirement, and yeah, and then it's gone, right?
Yeah. Again, come back to, if it's too good to be
Trust. Yeah,
true.
it really
Yeah.
is.
So, and for investments, I have a financial background, and for me, it's like always do your research. Always make sure that the company that you're working with has protection, has consumer protection. Like you've got to be really careful about what you're doing, and do your research because this is a huge thing. So that is number one.
Mm.
Number two is interesting, and because I'd never heard it phrased like this before, but impersonation scams. So impersonation scams, what's so interesting about them is they are like the bank, CRA, the police, the government. So it's those authority figures
Yeah.
who are sending out emails saying CRA,
You
uh,
won't so much for your interest. And again, they're playing into the emotion. There it's the emotion of fear, right? As you said, this is an authoritative figure in our lives as a society. And so therefore we have a fear of, I don't want to get on their bad side. I'll pay up, right? I'm not going to question it.
yeah. So I'm going to click that link
Yeah,
and I'm going to send my money.
that's right.
I actually had something similar to this very recently. It was a parking ticket violation. So I
You had
get
the
this
same
email
one.
from the police saying like there's a warrant out for this outstanding parking ticket. And I'm like, I never got a parking ticket. It looks so legit. It's got
That's
the
the problem.
time, it's got everything. And I'm like, okay, I don't know that I was there. And I'm like, I've never received a parking ticket. If they're going to come arrest me, well, then they're going to arrest me. I'm pretty sure this is crap. So,
And I find one of the things to do, my kids taught me that, is when you get those emails, is to check who the sender is. So to click onto the actual email of the sender, and you'll often see it's not the legit email address. It'll be some sort of thing at Gmail or at Hotmail or do you mean? And so if it is actually the police, that's not going to be their proper email, right? And that is a big red flag, but people don't often think to do that, right? Again, it's
oh, I didn't think of
authority.
that.
I react,
Yeah.
right?
CRA is a big one as well. And what's interesting, that's scary, actually, when we were doing our taxes, um, we started to get emails from CRA, and it's like, I don't know if this is legit or not. So you got to be really careful.
You do.
But yeah, they work on that fear. It's the authority, so don't just blindly click things.
Just
Yeah,
because it's police, don't fall for it.
yeah, don't fall for it. Um, Number three, romance scams, which
Oh, yeah.
I really didn't think was such a thing, but it's rated 3 and it's very underreported, but emotionally devastating.
It's awful. There was a whole show on Netflix. I don't know if you saw it, about these, they get in contact, they're messaging, and then the person is like leading the high life, and it's like, oh, I'll take on these dates, and then suddenly, oh, I need some money, I've run out, and sort of like their profile is reflecting what they're saying, right? The pictures and everything. So the person on the other end thinks, oh my gosh, it's legit. And the story, again, they play on your emotions, right? They play into that vulnerability. It's like, oh, well, you care for me, you love me now. Send me
Yeah.
some money. It's
That
crazy.
connection, right? We all want to have connection with other people. And so if you're lonely, if you're single and you're lonely and you're looking for someone, you're prime target. So you've got to be really careful. The minute they start asking for money, they gotta go, people. They gotta go.
Especially if you've never seen them, which is what always blows my mind, right? We are obviously older than some of these people that are, and this whole idea of chatting with somebody over text and having a relationship like that, I think to you and I just seems quite odd. Um, but to then actually give money to somebody that you've never actually physically met, to me is just
Crazy.
mind-boggling. But I
Although I
know that
think
it is
some
common.
of them actually like
Some
go
do meet
into relationships, right? So they have met them.
yeah. And
And then at a certain point, then they need more money. And how come you don't love me? I thought you did. On and on and
you
on. And they're
support
not.
me.
Yeah. Because I've seen things like on 2020 and stuff like that about these scams. And they're emotionally devastating. And I think the shame is like probably off the charts. It's so sad.
Yeah.
I wonder where they meet these people. I'm wondering if it's dating sites. Like that would
I,
be a prime place.
maybe. I've no idea. Actually, maybe it could be something to look into
Anyway, hey, everybody, be aware.
and be aware.
Number four, phishing and identity theft. And these usually come in emails and texts.
Yeah.
And it looks like everybody gets these and they look like just regular communication. You had mentioned earlier, like Microsoft.
Yeah, I keep getting a Microsoft renewal. I've never had an account with Microsoft. And I've tried to unsubscribe, but I've tried to like get rid of this email and I don't know how. And again, when I click at the little email address to see what it is, it's just some weird one. So whenever I just see it, I delete it. And I think, in doing the research for this show, that's just the one thing that kept coming home for both of us is, if you don't know the phone number, you don't know that person's email that's, messaging you, delete it. Like nothing bad will happen.
This is one thing I've always wondered, or wondered in the last couple of years since this has become so big, is so you get these emails, and then sometimes in the bottom it'll say, like, you can unsubscribe. But I'm now too scared to unsubscribe because I'm thinking that if I click that,
You don't know where that
then
link goes. Yeah, that's true. And that's why I think it's often just delete,
just delete.
delete,
Yeah.
delete, delete. Because again, like you said, anything that's a link, you don't know where it's taking you. And that's a good point, actually. People don't unsubscribe, just delete.
Unless you know who they are and you have subscribed, and let's say you're getting a newsletter that you're tired of or whatever. But other than that, don't
Don't,
unsubscribe.
yeah,
Don't click on anything. Just delete.
just delete. Swipe
Okay.
left.
Here's the last one, the grandparent scam, which is still huge. I didn't know
So,
that.
yeah.
And so this is the one where somebody calls you and says they're your grandchild. Don't you remember? Like if they target seniors, I'm in big trouble. Don't tell mom and dad. Can you just send me? And it works because it's really fast. It's panic mode. And they're, targeting people who maybe their memories are failing.
Is it, and they're not too sure and who would want to leave their grandchild, without
Yeah.
cash. And as I said to you, I've received it from well, not from my kids, but pretend, oh, mom, I lost my phone. I have a new one. Here's my number. Could you send me some cash to cover that? And I'm like, delete.
Do you get those in a text or an email?
It's a text.
See, I've never received something like that, but
Text message. And it's just like, hey, mom. And I've received a few of them lately. And I'm like, I just know my kids wouldn't do that. So I just delete it, right? But
like where to send the money or how does that
oh
work?
yeah, there's a link. It's like, oh, mum, could you? Well, because they want you to, use that number, and or you can transfer this to, because when you're doing e-transfer, you can put a phone number in, can't you? And
Yeah.
so
But
can you?
your kids' phone numbers. So I
Yeah, but
don't,
if it's their new number, they're like, oh, this is my new, I've changed because in theory they'd have changed it on their account, right?
yeah,
You'd have had to have done that, so you'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll. And again, we're not talking huge sums, but these for those ones, right? And the thing is, I think what's important is, however big the sum is, it's an abuse of emotion, right? It's taking people then, as we've just talked about, feel shame on so many different levels, um, because they've somebody's abused them, right? They've taken advantage of somebody's good nature, and I think that's the most annoying thing,
I
right?
agree.
How could somebody actually go to bed at night knowing they've done this? I don't know. Um,
I agree with you. I don't understand who are these people who are doing this? Like, do they not have any kind of soul or conscience or anything like to do that? It's mind-boggling to
yeah,
me.
it is. There are things we can do, as we said. I mean, if we kind of slowly summarize, if we're thinking of, text messages, emails, phone calls, things like that, just, you know, as we said, don't click any links, just delete, email, text messages, whatever they are. Phone calls, just don't answer if you don't know them.
And then maybe here's another thing is check on your loved ones. Not
Yes.
only just your elderly loved ones, But maybe check on people in your life that maybe are feeling lonely and might be susceptible to something.
And
So,
just say, hey, are you aware? Or if anything happens, call me, right?
yeah.
If you think this has happened to you, let me know. We can do something about it, right?
And there is one other thing that we can do. There are actually companies out there that help you with identity theft and fraud.
That's true.
And they watch your credit and then they can let you know if anything, like if anything weird is starting to happen. And then they also help you with your identity, like if it has been stolen to fix it. So there's a company called Equifax. So Equifax.ca. And I'm actually with them. And the reason that I'm with them is that I received a notice, and I think probably lots of us received this notice in the mail from my investment firm saying they were hacked. Like one of my holdings was hacked, and we're not sure, but they might have received some of my personal data. So they're giving me like they're actually putting me on to Equifax to help watch it.
Do
Um,
you renew that? I'm wondering because now you mention it, I had an issue with, I can't remember what it was about 6 years ago. I think it was during the pandemic. And I remember because it was had to do with my SIN number. And they said no. And as soon as you said the word, I was like, oh my gosh, I think I then registered with these people. But I'm just suddenly wondering, do you need to update every year? Is it something you need to update? Or if you're with them, you're with them?
well, because there is a cost, but when they with the what I received was that they gave me 2 years free.
Okay.
The first thing I did is I didn't know if this was legit.
Because again, you've just been.
So, because you get this big letter and it says log in here and
That's
here's your
it.
password, and you're thinking, I don't know, because am I actually handing over my identity to somebody? So I contacted my advisor and she said, it's legit. Sign up with them. And she said, as a matter of course, in today's world with AI and the way that we're going, she's just staying with them after the 2 years and she's just going to go. So it's $24.95 a month is what I saw online, that you can go in and you can and get yourself set up. I'm hoping that they're going to send me an email when my 2 years is up so that I can stay in. But that's a really good point. I'm not really sure. So I'll have to keep monitoring it because I think in today's world, just like home insurance and car insurance, we now have to have fraud and identity insurance. So
But it's good to know, right? I think it's so important.
yeah, because I would have never known that this existed if I hadn't got that letter that I
Yeah.
actually thought was fraud. So, better be careful than be sorry.
And I think as well, if it comes to even sort of local businesses and things like that, I think take a moment because people are playing on your emotions. If it's a call and somebody's stressing you out about a payment or something like that, um, just hang up, call them back later. Give yourself a pause, give yourself a moment to kind of have those emotions calm down, and then maybe phone up the Better Business Bureau, right? And things like that to find out, especially if it is, like for me, it was a phone call scam. They often get your odd times of day as well when you're more susceptible, like the end of the day. Um, and there is that stress on it. So I think, being aware of that. And again, if anything does happen to you, especially if it's like on a credit card, immediately phone up your banking advisor and say, look, this has happened, because often they are actually a really great resource, right? Try and put that shame aside really hard, but understand it happens. And then, okay, I can be proactive about it. It doesn't mean that I can just sit here and go, okay, pull me, put my head in the sand and you might be able to get something back. Maybe not all of it, maybe some of it, but at least you've tried, right?
So we hope that this has helped.
Yeah.
If you have any further information or want to share something to help us all, so because this is going to get worse, we're
Yes,
in a
it
new
is.
world now, and so if you have anything to share or comments, more ways of helping each other, please share in the
That's below.
comments below. And I will actually put the Equifax information down in the description as well, so that
Great
you've
idea.
got that. And we hope you have a great rest of your day.
See you soon.
Bye.